But I've got like 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the June 1st Inland Wetlands Commission meeting to order. Bruce, you want to go ahead and do the roll call, see who's here?
Okay, Robert Hannon.
I'm here.
Okay. Richard Berlandi. He actually emailed us and said he will not be able to attend. David Fox.
Here.
Robert Eisner.
Here.
Neil Kelsey. Neil's here. I know he's here.
Yeah, I'm here. Just trying to find the mute button.
No problem. Mark Simpson.
Here.
Ned Stachin.
Here.
Emily Brick. She emailed us as well. She may be in a little later. And Robert Canto.
Here.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
So with that, Bobby, I'll have you sit in for Rich.
Okay.
First item on the agenda tonight is CPD Properties 342 Colt Highway LLC. I've got a quick comment. And going back and looking at some of the file on this, it looked as though that what recently came out is there was a partial response to the engineering comments dated 5/24/2022. My understanding is there were some revised plans that came in. I believe it was on the 26th, Bruce.
I think that was.
Okay, and given sort of the short turnaround time frame, my take, and again, I'll listen to what you guys have to say too, but I'm not ready to really vote on this. I think what we should do is go ahead and let the applicant go ahead, identify what they've been doing, but I want to make sure that we get all the comments in from staff and there's a response by the applicant before we go ahead and render any decision. That's just my personal take on it. But with that, go ahead and let the applicant go ahead and proceed.
All right, thank you. I know the engineer is online.
Yep. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Chris Tamula. I'm a senior project manager with Greenman Peterson, and our offices are at the 44 Stiles Road in Salem, New Hampshire. First, I would like to apologize. My understanding was based on some discussion with the team, as long as we had everything essentially submitted to the town a week before the meeting, there wouldn't be any issues. The last thing I want to do is present any issues, so I do apologize for any inconvenience that it has occurred. So what I could do is basically just kind of in general discuss some of the changes to the plans. As I'm sure everyone knows, the last time we were formally before this commission was April 20th. We had gone out and had the site walk on the following Saturday, April 30th. Identified some items that were along Cheryl Drive. Everything was kind of staked out, the retaining wall, the building corners, et cetera. But the changes to the plans I'd like to kind of just discuss were really relative to Bruce's review letter, which was dated May 3rd. So if we could go to basically the grading plan, that kind of gives the most up-to-date changes. Yeah, thank you. So on this grading plan, first thing, over by the office building, we've added a gated access and gravel driveway to the right of the building. I know we had discussed, maybe kind of circumventing around the left-hand side and go around the back. Basically what we did is we shifted the retaining wall over about 10 feet, which allowed us to get the gated access in there and provide a gravel access, a 12-foot wide access for maintenance to that bioretention number 1. In addition to that, we added pertinent construction details, as part of the plan set. The initial submittal was basically just the existing condition site plans, what I kind of call the meat and potatoes of the plans, site plan through landscaping. Based on Bruce's comments, we've added some details that are, relative to the construction. On the outfall side of head wall number 1, we've adjusted the outfall. Yeah, thank you. We basically kind of straightened out that outfall so there was no interaction with the sewer manhole that was basically to the right of where your hand is right now. We can show it on the utility plan in a minute as needed. But basically we just kind of rotated that that outlet, counterclockwise. So there's no impact with the sewer manhole structure there, based on Bruce's comments. We've added some straw walls and silt fence along the lower development area, which was discussed at the site walk, as well as I believe in Bruce's comments. That would be on the next plan, I believe, the erosion control plan. Yeah. So basically, so go up one more. Right, basically the middle of the screen, we note proposed sediment control fence with and straw wattle. Yep, right there. In addition, based on the site walk, and which is noted on this plan as well as the other plans, in the upper right corner of the lot, we've added a note 5 no dumping signs, 50 feet on center, along Cheryl Drive, existing trash, debris, clippings to be removed all along Cheryl Drive. So basically, we're calling out 5 signs basically along that frontage. As everyone's aware, based on the location of the outlet in the existing wetland, there's some trash, debris, sediment collecting in there. So we've basically shown a 2-foot wide riprap surrounding that catch basin. We've noted that the catch basin inlet, sump, and outlet to be cleaned, all the trash, debris, and surrounding sediment to be removed, outside of that catch basin itself. Additionally, for the head wall number 1 and flared end section number 2, there was some discussion on the site of maybe doing some sort of an energy dissipator or level spreader. So we've added both of those. We've added level spreader on both those outlets there. So that'll further basically take the concentrated flow and kind of spread it out and disperse it prior to discharging towards the wetland resource areas. Those are really the main changes to the plans. All the other comments that Bruce had were really more technical in nature, some clarifications on our end. And once again, I do apologize for not getting everything in soon enough for Bruce to have enough time to really review the plans. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Chris, with the short week, I think we got about Wednesday late. And then I had Thursday and Friday. Pretty much, it's been a little hectic in the office. So I've been picking at them a little bit, but I definitely will be calling you tomorrow to go over these things. All right.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, so I guess we'll start. Any of the commission members have any questions? Bobby?
No, I'm fine right now. I'm just digesting everything.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, I just I had one question. It's actually one of the questions that was on the engineering review, asking about the feasibility of reusing the sanitary sewer, and the response was, I guess it was asked to review the feasibility of reusing it, but the response is just that this existing sewer service, the condition and size is unknown and cannot be assumed to be reused.
Yeah,
So
and
it doesn't seem like any effort was made to actually review the feasibility.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I can respond to that as best possible. So,
Yeah.
we did look into, record plans of where that existing sewer was. We were unable to track any of that down. For the size of the existing facility compared to what we're proposing, the existing line, whether it goes to Cheryl or goes to Finneman or goes somewhere else, it really is unknown. So we felt that the best approach was, since we need new sewer services for the bank and the office as well, basically just combine everything together with that new line, so there won't be any issues down the road for condition and longevity of that sewer line. So we definitely feel that the approach of providing a new line rather than trying to reuse the existing line is still the correct approach.
Yeah, Chris, I have those notes. I got those. That was going to be part of my discussion because it does come out of the existing building and run over to Shell Drive. So we have all those inspector notes from back then. So.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, if we can, have a discussion about that, tomorrow or next week, we can look to see what we can do.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Robert?
I'll just note for the record that the applicant did a good job to address all the concerns that we raised during the meeting, the site walk, the maintenance and removing the existing debris that was there, the addition of the no dumping signs, the correction of the outfall structure. So I think all of the concerns identified were addressed. I think the development is all within the upland review area, so it is generally compatible with our standards. Other concerns that may come up with this development likely fall on the Planning and Zoning Commission purview. End of my comments.
All right, thanks, Robert. Neil?
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thanks. Mark?
No questions.
All right, thanks. Ned?
Yeah, I had I was curious about this proposed bioretention area 2. And it's in the center there of the driveway, and I was looking at the detail. It's not very big. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, if it's going into bioretention area 1. I mean, you need double bioretention area, or yeah, right there. And my concern about it is that it's going to be a dropped off area, and I'm worried that it's just going to be a place for litter gathers, and kind of once it drops down below the grade of the pavement, it's going to kind of sit there and be more difficult than it would be for somebody who was just cleaning off the paved areas. Is that what is I guess the purpose of that, if it's going from one retention area to another retention area?
Sure, and I can answer. So the intent of that bioretention area was to basically pick up the rear behind the convenience store, provide an additional level of treatment on site. The fact that it's basically discharging from one bioretention to the next bioretention, we do that fairly routinely. There will be a long-term operation and maintenance plan to make sure that the basin is cleaned frequently, making sure that there is no trash, no debris collecting in there. It is just essentially a shallow depression, back there. So, maintaining it and making sure that the litter and debris doesn't collect there, really should not be an issue.
Okay. And then where are all the roof drains going on this?
Yeah. So for the convenience store, all of the roof drains are draining to the front of the site, being collected in catch basin number 3. And then that ultimately goes to the underground stormwater system that is up. Yeah, correct. Right in there. Same thing for the bank. The bank is being collected. Everything for the bank is collecting into that same underground detention system. It's a watertight pipe system. So it'll basically hold the water and then discharge it out through the outlet control structure. And then the previously mentioned head wall number 1, which is slightly rotated. And then the same thing for the office building. The office building will ultimately drain into catch basin number 9, which is located on the upper left-hand side. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, no, hold on. This thing's giving me problems here trying to.
No problem.
The pen is having problems, so I do it by manually.
There you go. So catch basin number 9 is right there, just located below the hand. That'll discharge into the bioretention number 1 as well.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Ned. I've got a couple questions sort of to follow up with what Ned was talking about here. The drainage system going into basin number 1, is there anything special about that manhole? I mean, you've got some other equipment elsewhere, but I'm just wondering, is this a catch basin with the hood? I mean, what is it? Or is because I would think that because of a lot of the storm drainage coming in from the roadway over there, we might want to go in and have something a little more effective as it relates to runoff from cars, things of that nature. So can you explain what you're proposing right there before it gets into basin number one?
So catch basin number one or the bioretention
No,
area?
bioretention basin number one.
Sure. So from a roadway point of view, none of the roadway system is getting into our drainage system. We basically created a high point at the property line to make sure that no roadway drainage goes into our site. The remainder of the driveway and the roofs for the office building, that's all going through deep sump hooded catch basins. First defense, hydrodynamic separators to make sure that all the oils and sediment are collected in there prior to discharging into the above ground bioretention basin. And then the bioretention area provides treatment, and then ultimately discharges out through the flared end and then the level spreader prior to getting to the wetlands.
So in that area, is there a hydrodynamic separator proposed there?
There is. So DMH number 3, which is located right there. Yep. So if you're a little down to the left, it says DMH 3 and then FD. So the FD stands for first defense. And then in the under our drainage structure table, we do denote that FD stands for a first defense hydrodynamic separator or approved equal.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
In terms of the level spreader, you've got the design laid out for that on the plans?
Yep. So we've added additional spot shots. So that rectangle right there, we provided the spot shots on there, and then there should be a detail as part of the plan set as well.
So I guess one of the questions I've had, one of the things I've seen that has come up in conversations is depending upon the design, you need to make sure that you take care of any weak spots where if you've got some soils that start undercutting that area, the level spreader, you start creating erosion problems. So that's something that you may want to go ahead and put something together just in terms of sort of a routine maintenance plan, what's being proposed there, just to make sure that there is not any type of undercutting of that level spreader.
Sure. Yeah. And one of the things that, for a lot of these, larger sites, obviously any site that's over an acre, we have to, apply for the construction general permit, which, requires us go out there, make sure that the site is being, not only sediment and everything, not, discharging onto roadway systems, but make sure that the graded areas, have no rilling and, undermining during construction. So that would definitely be something that we would, catch during our inspections. But we can look into, potentially providing some additional notes on the plan or some additional, details, to provide some, I guess, rigidity to that system. But it really is going to, come down to construction and how it's maintained during construction and making sure that, whether we need to add some jute matting on there or another type of stabilization. So it doesn't, scour and, kind of not do its job.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, it's an issue that's come up with other meetings I've been involved in. So I just want to make sure that that's something that we address.
Sure, and if you have no issue, I can work with Bruce and, see what maybe some other applicants have proposed in lieu.
I didn't necessarily say it was specifically with wetlands, so. But yeah, no, that would be good. And then Bruce, if you can go a little bit to the, I guess, towards the right, I got a question about the riprap design that's being proposed, like the 2-foot riprap around the pipe that's there. So I guess my question really is, in terms of going out and double checking the site from a maintenance perspective, is this also picked up in any type of a maintenance plan and how often that would be done?
Yeah, so specifics to this catch basin, no, we can definitely add specifics to the O&M to make sure that, it is looked at. But, that could be generally looked at from nothing different than a catch basin on site or an outlet control structure on site. We could just make sure that the O&M specifically talks about the, the catch basin outlet that's at, Cheryl Drive, within the
Yeah,
wetland system.
It's sort of isolated from the rest of the site.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. And
Sure.
is that the only work that you need to do within the wetland area?
Yeah, so based on the sidewalk, yeah, it was, basically get rid of the, some of the debris, trash that was kind of surrounding that catch basin, clean that catch basin as well as the other catch basin that's in Cheryl Drive, making sure that the pipe is
Okay.
cleaned out. And then kind of, cleaning up the area along the lot line, making sure that the grass clippings and other garbage are cleaned up.
And the piping that's there is in good condition, so no work needs to be done there?
It did not appear like that based on what, I saw in the field.
Okay. and
I
then
think
the last-
once we get that cleaned out, we can make another determination at that point. 'Cause
Correct.
It's hard to see on this side. You couldn't even see the pipe. It was so plugged.
Correct.
And then Bruce, if you can go to the area dealing with the underground infiltration. I'm assuming that there are some details in terms of the clean out, how frequently that would be looked at.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's part of the O&M as well.
okay,
And Chair, just so you know, this isn't underground infiltration. This is underground detention.
Correct.
okay,
So it's because of the fuel. Chris and I had said that, this should not be infiltration at this point. This should just be storage. So it's storage, and then it's slowly metered out through the pipe system.
okay.
And again, it should be noted as well that we typically, for gas station developments, we try to go above and beyond, and we do specify that the pipes are watertight pipes and they meet a certain ASTM standard for water tightness. So in the event that there is a spill, which is obviously unlikely, we do have catch basins and oil water separators and all that. It just provides another level of protection to the surrounding areas by calling out the watertight pipes and joints.
Okay, no, I thank you. Those were sort of the questions that I had. Bruce, let me ask you, what's the status of the review?
I'm going in through the storm drainage now, so I'm almost through with the storm drainage. I've done the plans, I've marked them up, so I hopefully should be able to get this wrapped up tomorrow. And then my plan was to talk to Chris verbally, work this stuff out so we don't have to go back and forth, and then hopefully get these items addressed or just noted on the plans as comments for condition of approval.
Okay. I mean, like I said, my personal take is I would prefer to hold off until the next meeting because I know we've got until the 15th to do something, but I'd like, you to have a chance to finish the review. If anybody else needs to chime in, if they have any comments or whatever, and give you a chance to talk to the applicant, just so and try to make sure that everybody's happy with what's going forward. That would be my take, but I mean, I'll open it up to other commission members to see what they think. If you feel as though we can vote on it now, that's fine. I'm just one vote. So Ned, I'll start with you.
No, I think it's reasonable to, the town has to have time to review these things and work out any changes or improvements. And so I don't think to wait one meeting I think to wait one meeting would be prudent. I had a question on that catch basin that we were just talking about. If I remember right, that was very full, but then when we went to the catch basin on Shell Drive, we could see the pipe that was draining into it. So there was some moving water there, wasn't there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was flowing. It's plugged, but there's water seeping through
Okay.
very.
So the pipe's
Oh.
not completely plugged, but that catch basin, I'm sure once we get the catch basin cleared out, it'll be a big improvement.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ned. Mark?
I think we should wait until we get all the information.
Thank you. Neil?
Yeah, I agree. Let Bruce and staff finish their work and bring it back in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thanks. Robert?
I concur. The applicant didn't express that it would be a hardship if we didn't act for 2 more weeks. So I'd like to give the staff the time to review and make sure that everything is set. So I prefer to table.
Okay, thanks. Dave?
I'd agree with that as well.
Okay, Bobby?
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so I mean, what we have is we got the new plans in. Sounds like people are listening to what commission members in the town have said, but it's just a matter of trying to button things up. So I think we'll hold off, no decision at this point in time, but we'll have it on the agenda for the 15th. And my guess is we should be able to move forward. We'll have staff comments in, any responses from the applicant as to those comments, and we should be able to go forward at that point in time. So
Sure, and I guess the only thing I asked, Mr. Chairman, so I do have another meeting. So the way it's working right now, it's every 2 weeks with this commission. It's every 4 weeks with another commission, and they have to land on the same day. So if I call in, I may be calling in, no video, on the road type of thing from my other meeting. And
that's no problem whatsoever as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Again, we're just trying to make sure that the changes, town has a chance to look at them. Everybody's happy with what's going on. If there's some issues the town has, it gives you an opportunity to go ahead and try to figure out how to deal with it. And it just makes everybody's life a little bit easier. But if you've got to call in, there's no video, that's fine.
So no, duly noted. I just want to let the commission be aware of that. That's all.
Appreciate it. Bruce, did you have something?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
So my only other question. So discuss possible enhancing of the lumber spreader outlet for scouring possibilities, and then making sure that we add the wetland catch basin to the O&M. Was there another item that you mentioned, Mr. Chairman?
No, you answered the other ones. I mean, I was wondering whether or not you had some of the hydrodynamic separators, especially over at Basin 1, and you said you did. So
okay,
that answers that. So no, those are the two things that I was. Oh well, the other one was maintenance in terms of the detention. So
sure, yeah, that would be part of the O&M. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was what I had. So
all right, great, thank you.
all right, thank you. Next up is Honeymoon Builders LLC, 17 Burlington Road.
We have the engineer online for that, and just give me a minute. Yeah, I've been having problems. We can't load everything at once, so I just have been taking a little slow. So give me 1 second. Where's the highlight? Here we go. Here's the highlighter plan. All right. Dave, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
All right.
Do you want me to jump into it, Bruce, or?
Yeah, just take it from here if you want to just give a quick brief, because I know there was probably a couple people that were not on. So just give them a brief little summary and then just bring it up to date to where we are with the changes and responses from the last meeting.
Okay. Well, just thank you. For the record, Dave Whitney, professional engineer representing Honeymoon Builders. Mike Honeyman is also on this call if you have any questions from him. This property is 2.16 acres in the R20 zone on the south side of Burlington Road. As we discussed last time, the eastern 40% of the lot is wetlands, and there is a water course that meanders off the property, then back onto it, and then crosses under Burlington Road, flows to the north. There's an existing house on the property right now, an existing driveway. The existing house, the project is basically a 2-lot re-subdivision to create one new single-family residential house. The house will be located right where Bruce has the cursor, somewhat behind the existing house. Both houses, well, the existing house is connected to the sewer, so will the proposed house. Public water is available, so there's no septic system. We've located the proposed house as far to the west, away from the wetlands as possible. There is a wood line that runs through the site, and our goal here was to put the house in the open yard area so that hopefully very little trees would have to be cut down as part of this single family house development. That's there are two large specimen trees of questionable health that may or may not remain. Otherwise, no trees will have to be cut down as part of this two-lot re-subdivision. The roof water from the house and the foundation drain outlet pipe will discharge in an easterly direction to the wetlands, right where Bruce has the cursor. On the plan you see in front of you, the revisions are highlighted in yellow from the last meeting based on the commission's feedback. There are two outlet pipes. One is the foundation drain outlet pipe, very low amount of water flow. The other outlet pipe is from the roof drains. We originally had both outlets fairly close to the wetlands, but at the commission's request, we pulled the roof drain outlet about 50 feet back away from the wetlands. There'll still be a plunge pool, a level spreader at the outlet of this pipe, but it's about 50 feet from the wetlands now. Another revision was Bruce met with Mike Honeymoon at the site recently, and they agreed upon the limits of a conservation easement, which runs through the site. Bruce has the cursor on it right now. Basically, this line has been established anywhere from 10 to 20 feet from the wetlands boundary itself. That will encompass and protect the eastern portion of the site. We added a second row of straw wattle to back up the silt fence at the limits of disturbance. Again, we tried to keep the disturbance as much as possible away from the wetlands. The driveway itself and related grading will be outside of the 150-foot upland review area, but the house itself and the grading around the house, will be within the upland review area, but as far away as we could make it. The closest point of disturbance from the house and grading is 50 feet to the wetlands, right at the back left-hand corner of the house. The house itself is about 80 feet away at the closest point. The limit of disturbance is about 50 feet. So we made every effort to provide, maintain the existing wooded buffer that is there. I enlarged the anti-tracking pad at the driveway entrance from 25 feet to 50 feet as Bruce requested. I guess I made a couple changes to a couple of numbers in the zoning data table. This plan went through a couple iterations. So the zoning data table, which is kind of a planning and zoning issue, now reflects the current surveyor's plan and the current site plan. I think that's basically it in terms of the changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just so the commission knows, if this is approved, the next step is to go to TPZ for subdivision approval.
Thanks, Bruce. Bobby, I'll start with you. Any questions, comments?
So if I get this straight, they're putting two houses on, so it's gonna be two lots. Is it a common shared driveway?
There's an existing house with its own driveway currently on the property and the front of the property. And you can see the proposed property line is sort of a rectangle around it. There is a bit of a jog, but that is the existing house lot. So the remaining land, which will be 1.7 acres, about about 5 times the minimum required, that will be one new lot with one new house. And it'll have its own driveway, and the driveway, Bruce has the cursor, and the driveway itself is outside of the upland review area. Runoff from the driveway will flow across the grass and the open space, and eventually down into through the woods and into the wetlands. But we've kept the driveway a fairly good distance away from the wetlands.
So the only thing going out of that rain leader is going to be the gutters from the house?
Right, the gutters from the roof of the house and the foundation drain outlet pipe. We dug some test pits on the site, and there is a high seasonal water table down 3 or 4 feet. So that's the reason we're keeping the house up, because we want to avoid at all costs a wet basement. So there will be a foundation drain around the exterior of the footings, as is a typical. And that pipe will outlet in an easterly direction towards the wetlands. Typically, very little flow comes out of a foundation drain outlet pipe. So it was the roof drain outlet pipe. There's 2 pipes. It was the roof drain outlet pipe that will have the greater amount of water, especially during the large storms. And that was the outlet that we pulled back about 40, 50 feet closer to the house, because it doesn't have to be down as deep.
All right, and we're connected on to city water and city sewer, correct?
That is correct.
All right, I'll reserve comment for right now.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Dave?
I'd just like to thank you for moving the roof leader back away from the wetlands. And I have no further comments. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Dave. Robert?
Just the comment is, Dave, you've proven that subdivision design can be both an art and a science. You've certainly figured out all of the regulations and come up with a configuration that meets the requirements. So that that's the art. From a wetlands impact standpoint, I don't think that there's any significant impact that would be proposed by the development. So it meets the regulatory requirements. I don't have any concerns and no comments.
All right, thanks, Robert. Neil?
And no questions or comments. I thank the applicant for walking us through this the last couple of meetings.
Thank you. Mark?
Yes, I agree. The new construction is far away from the wetlands, and the impact would be very minimal. So a good plan.
All right, thanks. Ned?
Yeah, I definitely are happy to see that the drainage moved farther away from the wetland. And I'm just curious, is part of the reason that this shape, so the new house can have the required frontage? I'm just.
I can explain the jog in the rectangle.
Yeah,
if that's your question. It does not have anything to do with frontage. It has to do with the desired location for the proposed house. We didn't want to cut down any trees, at least in the woods, but we wanted a decent backyard for the house. And we also, when we were on the site, it just seemed like the right spot for the house. So because there is a shed there in the back that we want to keep with the existing house, we came up with this fake configuration. The front of the new house has to be 40 feet back from the back property line of the existing house lot. And if we squared off the rectangle, which we could have done, that would push the house another 20 or so feet back, and it would have been very close to the wood line and also closer to the offsite pond that is to the south. You can just see there's an existing pond off the property. So our thought was to not have the house any farther back than it had to be so that we could stay as far away from the pond and the wetlands, and we could have a decent backyard without having to cut down any trees, and it just looked right on the lot where the house really wanted to be. So yes, it does make a slightly odd lot configuration, but you don't really
Sorry.
see that when you're looking
Yeah.
at the site. So anyway, that was our thought process.
That, all right, yeah, I didn't make myself clear. I'm talking about the other lot. In other words, why it has a U shape and why
Oh,
have,
okay.
so like, is that required to make for the frontage requirement? I mean, in other words, that section that's up, you know, why wouldn't that be added on to the existing house as opposed to making this a U shape?
Well, we didn't have 100 feet of frontage
Okay,
along Burlington Road where the proposed driveway is. So the minimum frontage is met on the eastern portion of lot 2, right where Bruce has the cursor.
okay. You
But we
answered my
didn't want,
question.
but we didn't want to bring the driveway in there. We could have
Right.
moved the existing house lot all the way over and brought the new driveway in right next to the existing driveway, between the existing driveway and the wetlands. There was room to do that. But it was thought that if we could keep the driveway far from the wetlands, because, you know, that's the, I guess the dirtiest runoff is from, you know, roads and driveways.
Yeah.
We thought if we could put the driveway on the west side, get our frontage on the right side, it does make for a lot that kind of looks like a ninja weapon, but it meets the zoning regulations, and I think accomplishes what we wanted to do, and that's keep everything as far from the wetlands as possible.
Yes, I agree. I think that's a good idea. And I kind of had a feeling that you needed it to make up the frontage, but I wasn't sure. And so now on the proposed conservation easement, is there going to be a marking in the fields for that? Are we going to require that, or?
Yeah, we
You know,
have our,
the posts, you know, the
yeah,
posts.
we have
with
our
the
blue
sign.
discs. We kind of,
Okay.
the reason for the applicant and myself going out there was I wanted to confirm that this was a treat area. I want to make sure there was adequate trees in there and that we weren't just doing something where that once, if this does get cut, it would be open area to the wetland. So we kind of walked it. There is enough trees in this area where we can adequately put our blue discs in there. So it's pretty clear that this will be a conservation
Okay.
area.
Well, I appreciate the applicant's cooperation on the conservation easement, and it looks good. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I have a question or not, but Bruce, can you enlarge the house area and the drainage coming from the house? I'm just trying to quickly take a look at what some of the points are. I'm not seeing anything in terms of the existing topography. So Dave, do you have, I mean, where the house is being proposed, do you have to bring in a bunch of fill? 'Cause I guess what I'm wondering though is, with the foundation going in, how far down is that going to go? Is that going to impact the high groundwater table at all? Are you going to have to do any dewatering in that area? And if so, how is that going to be managed for erosion control issues?
As I said before, we conducted a couple of test pits, and the groundwater table is down 3 to 4 feet. So we put the basement floor, for example, is basically just about 1 foot in the ground at the eastern end of the house, and maybe 3 feet in the ground on the western end, and we're filling around the house. So we've kept the house up to stay out of the groundwater table. Also, hopefully, if this gets approved, construction will occur in the summer and fall and not during the seasonal wet time.
Okay, so I mean, is there an outside chance that when you're going in and putting in the footings that you could possibly run into some groundwater in that respect? I mean, I guess what I'm looking at is, if that did in fact happen, even though it may be sort of a remote chance, is there something that can be done on the plan to at least identify, if you do run into that situation, how that water would be handled? If it's got to be pumped out in order to support the concrete footings?
Well, in that, what I think it's an unlikely event, but you can never say never. So we could construct a temporary sedimentation basin in the backyard and dewater the house. Again, we went to a lot of trouble to make sure that we're not going to be in the groundwater table. We didn't want to rely on a pump to keep the basement dry. I know theoretically that'll work, but that's not the best plan. So we started with the elevation of the basement and then went up from there. So yes, I suppose there is a chance we could have some type of freak weather. Remember 2 summers ago how wet July was? I suppose it could happen. Or was it last summer? I don't remember. But we could construct in that event a temporary sedimentation basin in the backyard, which would be in the open area. Again, no trees would have to be cut down. The non-wetland soils are fairly well drained, so that I think a temporary sedimentation basin would work quite well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just in case, to make sure that any water, if it had to be pumped out, we have an idea of where it's going and how it's going to be handled. That's really all.
Well, then I can modify the plan maybe as a condition of approval to show a temporary dewatering basin in the backyard if necessary.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. I appreciate it. And I don't have anything else on it. That was the one question I had, because again, just trying to look at the elevations and get a better feel for what's there. So let me just double check.
One nice thing, if I can just interrupt, one nice thing
Sure.
about this site is the grades are relatively flat. So you're not going to have much velocity from stormwater runoff. I think it's a great site for sedimentation and erosion control measures to work properly, of course, if they're properly installed. So that we have that in our favor. Plus, as I said, the soils in the area of the house are well drained. So it's not a wet lot at all, at least on the western side.
All right. And then Bruce, a quick question for you. As the way this is particularly laid out with the foundation drain going into the conservation easement area, we just need to make sure that the conservation easement is set up to allow the homeowner to be able to go in and do maintenance in that area, should it be required?
Yep, that's required.
Okay.
We did that on another
Yeah.
subdivision. What we do is we work with the builder. We make sure that, look, we don't want to cut any trees in this conservation easement, so we just locate the foundation drain in an area that's not going to affect any trees. So hopefully, if they do have to maintain anything in the future, there won't be any trees they have to cut.
Yeah, no, so I just want somebody to make sure they look at that, so that assuming this goes forward, the homeowner actually has the ability to go in and do some work there should they need to. Okay.
Yep.
The
only thing I have for you, one more thing, would be on the voting, was everybody was here last week with the exception of Commissioner Canto. So as long as he's reviewed everything from last in the meeting and he confirms that, then he should be eligible to vote.
Okay, so Bobby, I'll ask you, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm not seeing a problem after reviewing it. I had the same problem with the foundation drain going so far in, but it seems like it's being addressed, so we should be good.
Okay, and you're familiar with the material that you feel like you can vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just want that on the record, that's all. So what's anybody's pleasure? It doesn't appear as though there's a whole lot of concern with this particular property. So does somebody want to make a motion to approve the application with any conditions that they think are appropriate?
I'll make a motion to approve the application with the noted conservation easement. and conditions laid out for the foundation drain, access to the foundation drain in the easement area for maintenance, and to align with any comments that the town has had.
Okay. Is there a second?
Dave will second.
Okay. Those in favor of approving the application with.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, can I just ask a question? I'm trying to find the notes from staff. Were there any other items? I apologize, I can't find the notes. Did we capture everything from staff review?
Yes, we have. Everything has been taken care of.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application with the aforementioned conditions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So be it.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is Inspired by Opportunity LLC, 331 South Road.
The engineer is online. If you want to go ahead and start your presentation.
Of course, trying to start the video here. I don't know why there it is. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Gagnon. I'm a professional engineer with BL Companies here representing this project for you today on 331 South Road. It's my understanding that there's been some preliminary application meetings with everyone, but I think this is the first somewhat formal presentation to you folks. So I will run through it, and certainly feel free to jump in and ask any questions. The interesting part about this project is that the property is located both in Farmington and in West Hartford. So we have two parcels, one property, if that makes sense to you. So obviously we're in front of you folks today because there is a wetland area that is located off-site to the west of our property, right around there, that we have mapped out based on the town mapping that you have. We did not actually delineate it as it's off of our site, so we don't have permission to access that, but we have proceeded accordingly, assuming that wetlands is there, and that is why we are in front of you today. So the plan here is we're going to take the existing building and maybe can you click over to the to the site plan? Oops.
Is that the plan you have?
Yeah, no, that's fine. There we go. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I'll talk in general about what's happening, and then then we'll get into the potential impacts and how we're mitigating them. So so what we're trying to do here is we're going to demolish the existing building, and we're going to install the plan is to install a proposed new restaurant, same tenant, but with a drive-through. That there's not an existing drive-through on this one, on the existing project. So the plan is to demolish the building and build a new one. As we all know, drive-through is, I guess it's always been popular, but couldn't be more popular now. The intent is to continue to use the same entry drive that we are using. This is a one-way flow situation, so it's yeah, one way in and one way out. We're maintaining the entrance location as it lines up well with the intersection across the street. So we're maintaining that, but we are proposing to relocate the exit westerly. It just allows for better flow for the drive-through, for the delivery vehicles, and for the fire vehicles. So that's kind of the site plan overview. And why we're all here today is because of the wetlands that are located off-site. So you can see we show them over there. As I said, they were placed on the plan based on the town mapping, and from there we have depicted the 150-foot upland review area. And as you can see, we do have some proposed work within the upland review area. I'll begin with the site plan upland review area discussion, and then I'll talk about the drainage, and we have some utilities as well. So there's a few potential activities within this area. But we'll start with the site plan. If you wouldn't mind, can you zoom in a little on that, you know, where the upland review area is? There we go. Perfect. So if you just pan up just a little bit, perfect. So in my humble opinion, I believe that the proposed revisions actually will be a benefit to you know, they're a reduction in impact. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. So first of all, there is a reduction in impervious area within the upland review area as a result of this work. There's an overall reduction in impervious area on the entire property, but specifically within the upland review area on this western portion of the site, currently there's about 2,000 square feet of impervious area, and the proposed impervious area, just this little corner of parking right there, is only 970 square feet. So by more than half, we are reducing the impervious area within the upland review area. Another nice benefit to what we're proposing here, currently the dumpster enclosure is located in this area. We have actually taken it, the dumpster enclosure, so far away, it is no longer even in your town. It is in the town next door. So so we have moved the dumpster enclosure outside of the upland review area as well. So we have a reduction in impervious area, so increase in grassed area, and we have relocated the dumpster. The proposed work in the parking area is essentially a mill and overlay, so it's very minimal grading rework as a result of minimal grading rework required. The dotted hatch is a mill, just a mill and overlay to give them a nice fresh pavement. The kind of grayscale hatch is proposed new pavement, because we need to put in, yep, right in that corner, and we need to put in the exit drive as well. So I guess before we go any further, any questions on the site plan, or happy to just save them for the end? That's but you know,
Probably just save everything till the end. Thank you.
Yep, understood. If you wouldn't mind then clicking over to the drainage plan. Let's see, what is that? Truck turn. Yep, don't need to do that. There we go. Perfect. And you could zoom in on that similar spot over there. So somewhat of a theme of my presentation will be my opinion that these proposed improvements will actually be a benefit to the resource area off-site. So currently the stormwater is collected in a very simple catch basin and pipe system and is discharged in this at this same location. So our proposed development does not change the discharge location in any way. However, I believe it is an improved discharge in that we are proposing a hydrodynamic separator, which is that little circle. There you go. Which does provide the required TSS removal, and we're also installing deep sump catch basins where applicable with the hoods. So when we talk about it's this isn't a significant activity, but in this group we always talk about prudent and feasible alternatives. In my opinion, the leave as is alternative is actually not as beneficial to the resource area as this proposed redevelopment is, because of the introduction of these water quality features, as well as the riprap apron at the discharge point. While it is in the town next door, I do think it's appropriate just to discuss the project in its entirety. On the West Hartford side, we are proposing some infiltrators to take the roof leaders, which also have been designed to meet little to the east. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Which have been designed to accommodate the water quality volume. And then these will also be conveyed to the same outlet, which is coming off the eastern side of the site. And we also have proposed a hydrodynamic separator at the outlet of that as well. So while it doesn't necessarily pertain to your wetlands, I felt it was appropriate to just discuss the overall improvements to the site in terms of water quality. Additionally, for stormwater management, there is a net reduction in impervious areas. In Farmington specifically, there's 16,000 square feet of impervious area currently. We are proposing in the proposed condition, there's 13,300 square feet, so plus or minus 2,500 square foot reduction. And on the West Hartford side, there's about a 5,000 square foot reduction from 17,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet. And I say that to say this, so we are not proposing any stormwater detention or retention on the site, as the analysis has showed that the runoff rates are less post-construction than they are pre-construction. We have a small area of runoff that sheet flows out to the street as well, and that has also been that volume is reduced by this development as well, due to the reconfiguration of the parking lot and collecting of the runoff. So that really covers the stormwater management. And then the final thing I would like to discuss is on the utility plan. We have some upland review area impacts related to the fact that excellent, thank you. That currently this building is served by a septic system. So as part of this reconstruction, it is our desire to tie into the sewer system. the town sewer system. So unfortunately, the sewer system ends at a manhole at the intersection of Woodruff and South Road. So for us to tie in, we need to install this length of sewer main here, all within the street. So, you know, very minimal concern related to erosion or anything like that. However, as you can see, it is essentially all located in the Upland review area, except for a small piece just off our driveway. So this is another activity that is occurring within the Upland review area. So another reason why we're in front of you. And then a very small additional activity. There are some traffic control infrastructure underground utilities located where we are proposing our new exit drive, and we need to relocate those utilities a little bit, and that triggers some very minor trenching in the Upland review area. Yeah, just right adjacent to where that is, right there. Standard sediment and erosion control plan. I guess the only thing that is within the Upland review area is we have some 3-to-1 slopes that we're putting an erosion control blanket on right at the discharge point, right around the pipe. Yep, right there. And other than that, everything's standard silt sacks, construction entrance, silt fencing running along the limit of disturbance. So felt like I was talking somewhat quick. I don't know if that was the nerves or not, but I think I hit on what we're proposing, the site plan related Upland review area activities and benefits, stormwater management, and utility related activities. So as far as this goes, I mean, I could talk a little about the stormwater report, but I don't think you guys necessarily want to hear about the nitty gritty there. So I think with that, I'd be happy to open it up to questions.
Thank you. Ned, we'll start with you on this.
Okay, yeah, but I'm just confused. So that existing Wendy's has on-site sewer, on-site septic
Yes.
system?
Yes, it's currently served by a septic system.
Oh. And you say you move the dumpsters further away from the wetlands?
That is correct. They're right in the corner in the Upland review area, and now they're all the way into West Hartford.
All right. And the main reason for this project is so that you can have a drive-through, which is a big business for a burger place, right?
Yeah, drive-through and a modern building.
Yeah.
But yes, drive-through is the impetus for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any comments. It looks, but the difference between the pavement and, is actually lessened in the 150-foot upland review area. So I think it's, and, a newer modern building, and the separators are included in the manholes. So I think it should be good. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mark?
Yeah, upon review of this being an existing property, I I think the impact to the area is going to be very minimal. So I have no other further comments.
Okay, thanks. Neil?
Yeah, just one, well, two questions. One is, where is the current septic system and what happens to that as part of this project?
So the health code requires that the septic system be abandoned. So the field itself will need to be disposed of. I don't think that you have to take the tanks out. I think you can just fill them, but I believe that the whole thing needs to be abandoned. It's an officially permitted system. So it'll need to come off the books. So it needs to be officially abandoned through your local health department.
Okay, and where the hand is circling now, I assume that work is done in the Upland review area?
It will be for sure. Yes.
Okay. And then second question, I can't visualize where the current building sits, but it looks like this one's moving a little bit closer to South Road than where it is today. Can you speak about how much water is moving east to west, and will that increase or decrease? I know you said in the upper left-hand corner that's the same outlet, but is there going to be more water moving across the surface and across the property that way, east to west?
I don't think that there's going to be any more water going east to west. The high point itself is essentially at the town line. So the stormwater break it stays the same. And there's no increase in water east to west or west to east. And there's actually a reduction in runoff at each of the discharge points due to the slight reduction in impervious area. But there is no change necessarily in terms of flowing east to west or west to east.
Okay, and I think you just said the high point on the property is essentially on the line, and you're not moving that at all or altering that?
No, it's very minor grade changes. A majority of the pavement we get to keep and just mill and repave, which is nice. So the overall drainage patterns are essentially exactly the same.
Okay, nothing further from me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Robert?
I think it's largely going to come down to the staff review. It's a heavily developed area. So I think the mass balance that the applicant overviewed on feasible and prudent alternatives, it was, a good thought. No questions or comments at this point.
All right, thanks, Robert. Dave?
One question. The sewer line that's going in South Road, it looked like the wetlands were fairly close to the road along that stretch. Is there any need to have any silt fence or something on the north side of that road? In case, some of the trenching material gets washed off the roadway in a thunderstorm or something?
Yeah, so depending on what time of day that occurs, this is a pretty busy street. So we do have a maintenance and protection of traffic plan, but because of this, the location of this on this busy street, it's not like a pipeline construction through an open field where you open up a trench and you have stockpiles sitting there. The way this type of construction occurs is you open and close what you're working on in the day. There may be some instance where sometimes you get the steel plates out there or something like that if there happens to be a crossing or something going on that couldn't get completed in a day. But the way this construction occurs is you're not going to have a windrow of excavated soil next to the trench. All that being said, along the edge of the pavement, if necessary, it looks like our LOD is inside the pavement a little bit there. You know, if during construction, you would like to see something running along the edge of the pavement and where the property line is, remembering that we don't have control of this site with the wetlands on it, so we couldn't put anything off our property. You know, there is a place for maybe a run of the straw wattles or a silt fence along the edge, but in my opinion, it is not a situation where there's going to be a lot of exposed soils there for any extended period of time.
Chris, if you don't mind me interjecting here, this property, there are catch basins along that road, and these all dump into the wetland over here. So there will be needed for silt sacks and erosion control at all of your catch basins. And there may, and depending on what happens at this intersection, making sure that all these basins are properly protected. So I'll have that.
Understood. Happy to comply.
Yeah, that comment's on the plans already. So, all right.
Excellent. That's it's an appropriate recommendation. Happy to comply.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. That was all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Bobby?
Just for clarification, because I'm not too familiar with it, when you abandon the septic tank and leaching fields and remove all that soil, what is going to go in place to fill back in? That's question one. And number two, are you changing site lighting? Are you going to be into the 100-foot area for trenching for the site lighting?
Since we're pulling pavement away from there, if we were ever in the upland review area, it would be in a already disturbed area. I don't know if we have designed the conduits yet, but it's my understanding we don't have any proposed poles in the upland review area. So we could, if there's no poles in the upland review area, there won't be any need for trenching in that area as well.
Okay, and for the septic tank and reinstallation or fill in?
Yeah, that's just bring in some clean fill. Yeah, the D boxes would come out, the leaching chambers would come out. The some items can be abandoned in place and just filled. So you know, this system has got the leaching chambers. So those can be abandoned in place because it's, you know, once the effluent stops being discharged, it essentially, you know, there's nothing else going to it, but it will be disconnected and where appropriate backfilled. But it would just be a clean fill, and there also wouldn't need to be any disposal of any sort of soils if you are abandoning in place.
Commissioner, Farmington Valley Health usually requires that the abandoned or allows the system to be abandoned in place. The only thing they have pumped out is the septic tank that gets pumped out, and it gets crushed and backfilled with the sand usually. So that's how Farmington Valley usually abandons or allows those systems to be abandoned in place. So there really is no soil, mass excavation of soil that has to be removed and then replaced.
Okay, and do we have a oil water separator in place, or are we using existing?
There is for the sanitary system for all restaurants, there will be a grease trap. And then for the stormwater management, we're proposing a hydrodynamic separator, which is for suspended solids. So we don't necessarily have what I would define as an oil water separator, but we have a water quality unit that's designed to remove the suspended solids from the runoff.
Okay, I'm all set then.
All right, thanks, Bobby. I've got sort of, I guess, a crazy question. But the parking spaces, are they based on West Hartford or Farmington standards to come up with the number of parking spaces you have?
It's my understanding that we're trying to mimic existing conditions in terms of the parking on both sides. So, but because the building is located in West Hartford, that was the driver, as that's where the building is.
On the sheet, you'll see they broke out the parking information, Farmington's requirements and then West Hartford's requirements. So taking those two together, that's how they came up with the total number of bases.
Yeah, and I was just curious because I was wondering if there was a way to even reduce the number of parking spaces that are proposed. But that's why I was asking whose regulations you're following. It's always fun when you're dealing with two different municipalities. The other question I have is, I'm assuming that somewhere there is a maintenance plan for dealing with the stormwater.
Yeah, as part of this stormwater report, there's a maintenance plan because you will need to maintain the infiltrators and the hydrodynamic separators. So they're as standard. There's a operation maintenance plan that will be filed that needs to be followed by the operator.
Okay, and then I'm assuming that would also tie in with some of the other basins that also have the deep sumps with hoods, because I would think that if they're going to do some of the maintenance, they may want to go in and start backing them out, whatever collects in those as well. So, okay, no, that's all I have.
Yeah, our calculations rely on, appropriate housekeeping, between cleaning the parking lots, vacuuming out the sumps, and proper maintenance of the hydrodynamic separators. None of it works if you don't take care of it, just like our houses.
Yep. All right, thank you. I guess at this point, first thing is, unless anybody else has any other questions, I'd like to get a motion to accept the application.
So moved by Robert.
Is there a second?
Second, Mark.
We have a motion on the floor to accept the application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we will accept the application. I'll offer my 2 cents because this is already an existing developed site. I really don't think there's any significance as it relates to the wetlands here, especially in light of the fact that we seem to be reducing the impervious area that we're dealing with. So I would say it is not a significant activity, but I'm more than happy to listen to other folks. So Ned?
Yeah, I think it's just reconfiguration of the parking area. There's less pervious. There's going to be less impervious area. So I don't see it as a significant event.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I do not see it being significant.
Thank you, Neil.
Overall, I don't see it as being significant. What I'm wondering, and I'd like to hear others' opinions on, is the connection to the sewer line along South Road. Does that, bring this into an area of significance, at least during the construction?
Okay, Robert?
I agree. It's a non-significant regulated activity.
Dave?
I agree as well.
Bobby?
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a problem with it, and I don't see a problem with the sewer.
Yeah, and Neil, to respond to your question on that, my take is I think I'd feel better in this area having sanitary sewer than a septic system and sort of not knowing what's going into the septic system. But so that's just kind of my take on it. I don't see that as significant. I think that's something that we discussed in terms of what would be required for erosion sedimentation control to make sure that we're not creating a problem. Bruce already came up with some ideas on that, where some of the existing manholes out there, they're going to need to be protected from erosion, things of that nature. So, I mean, does that kind of answer where you were going with this?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I guess we need a motion to determine that this is not a significant activity. Would somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sandy, did you get who made the motion and who seconded?
Nope,
Was that a no?
no.
We got the seconded. I didn't hear
There were two simultaneous motions, so it was kind
That's
of
why I'm
tough.
asking if she
Could you
got it.
identify yourself, please?
Pick 'em.
All right, this is
I
Ned.
think I was the second voice making the
Okay.
motion. I'll take the second.
Okay.
Okay, so
Ed?
I'll make a
Ned.
motion that this is non-significant regulated activity.
Okay.
Ned statute.
Okay.
Thank
Bobby,
you.
you're seconding, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So we have a motion on the floor that this is not a significant activity. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, abstaining. And I'll offer my 2 cents. I don't particularly think we really need a site walk because again, it might be different if it was an undeveloped site, but this is already developed. And they're cutting the paving back. So I'm not sure if we really need any, but I'm more than happy to listen to others. So Ned, we'll start with you again.
No, I don't think we need a site visit. Unless they're gonna have breakfast
Mark?
sandwiches ready.
Well,
I'm
they
only
have
kid-
them,
only
you just have
kidding,
to
only
buy
kidding.
'em. Mark,
With this weather, I'll take the Frosty.
No visit and no food, no takeout.
Neil,
Yeah, no visit necessary.
Robert,
agree. No visit.
Dave,
No visit.
Bobby.
No visit.
Okay, so that eliminates the 11th or 12th for your site walk, Bruce.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking forward to it.
Okay, and then I'm assuming we can probably have this on the agenda for the 15th to vote on the application because we cannot do it tonight.
And I'll be wrapping up my comments and getting back to them as well. So,
Okay, all right, good. All right, thank you. So, thank you. I think we're done with that one for the time being. I do have a question for you, Bruce, though. It's not on the agenda. But it had to do with Snowberry Cobble. That's
We
being
said it would be
tabled?
Next meeting.
yeah, they asked for an extension out to June 15th. There was some problems not being able
I
to get to the
just
meeting.
wanted to double check because it's in the report, but I didn't see it on the agenda. Okay, thank
Exactly.
you.
So,
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Old business carrier group lots 8517 and 8518 Maria Road. Bruce, did you need to say anything tonight or?
yes, just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we have received some inquiries since the closing of the hearing with regarding some actual additional information and a third-party review. We have since gone out to our town attorney. They have reviewed and confirmed our opinion with regards to one, requesting a public hearing. And that actually cannot be done because the public hearing has already been closed. The other question was, can the inland wetlands accept any more correspondence or testimony? The answer to that is no as well. There was no, since the public hearing has been closed, the commission cannot accept any more correspondence or testimony. There were some complaints regarding the Zoom format. We informed everyone that it is a state allowed by the state at this point. So Zoom is a current format going forward. And we were also asked if the commission could hire a third-party professional, and the response is at this point, no, as well, because the hearing has been closed. So just wanted to get that out so everyone is aware, because I know there may be some people online that are listening to the meeting as well. So just wanted to let everyone know. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Bruce. So let's see, for the status that we're at right now, close the public hearing at the last meeting. Got 35 days to make a decision. I don't know if people have had an opportunity to go back and take a look at the material, take a look at the drafts. So just trying to figure out right now sort of what everybody's frame of mind is on this application. So I guess maybe Bobby, I'll start with you.
I don't have a problem with the application. They've taken some extensive research and looks to make sure that everything's taken care of.
Yeah. Mind if I interrupt here?
Preserved.
Chair, I just, sorry, Commissioner Canto was not involved during the hearings.
Okay.
So
Well, he may not be able to vote on it, but we can still get his opinion.
Okay.
That would be my take.
All right.
Dave? I'm sorry, Bobby, were you done on that?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Like I said, I had seen enough at the walkthrough and reviewed the materials where I think they put some effort into making sure everything's protected.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
I guess overall, I think it's a kind of a difficult project to judge. There's pretty extensive development within our 150-foot regulated area, more so than most projects that we've seen. The 25-foot buffer is smaller than most projects that we've seen as well. However, there's a whole lot of open space to protect wetlands and adjacent uplands. So it's, you have to kind of weigh those two items against each other, I think. Somewhat concerned about the vernal pool too. I'm not sure if I can even ask this question, but when I was looking at the plans, the size of the vernal pool, it seems to be much smaller as it's depicted than the 4,000 square feet that was talked about. So I don't know how to pursue that.
So Dave, if I understand, you're saying you think that the vernal pool might be smaller than what was depicted in the discussions?
No, the vernal pool that's shown on the plans seems to be considerably smaller. If you go to, I guess, the third or the fourth sheet on this one. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were talking about there.
Yeah, the vernal pool here, I don't have the scale, but the buffer is 25 feet. And so this looks like about the size of the buffer. So if it was a 25-foot square, that would only be 600 square feet. And even even if it's a little bit bigger, if it's a 30-foot square, that's a 900 square foot. But the narrative talks about 3,000 and then 4,000. My concern is that if the vernal pool is bigger, the 150-foot envelope will be bigger as well.
Okay, so just so I understand what you're saying is, so you feel as though if the vernal pool is larger based on some of the narrative language that's being used, then that may have an impact on where the 100-foot envelope goes.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just a question. I don't know if we need to do anything about it now that the hearing is closed.
I mean, I can't answer. I don't know because I didn't go back and kind of measure it.
I think during the hearing, they did, if I am correct, they did state on the record that they had gone back out and field located the vernal pool based on the flagging, so.
And
No,
didn't they
just-
say it was
I'm just saying
larger? I believe,
the
what I
size-
understand, it was larger.
See the width of the width of the buffer area that's depicted. That's supposed to be 25 feet. Looks like about the size, the dimension of this pentagon, I guess it is. If it was 4,000 feet, it should be about 60 feet at least 60 feet on the side. And that doesn't look like it's nowhere close to 60 feet.
Yeah, well, given that if you're looking at just what the 100-foot envelope is, that should be a lot smaller. I mean, it's a lot smaller than what you would expect. Well, because figure what, well, yeah, because you figure if it was roughly 60 by 60, that would be about 3,600 square feet. And halfway between the 3,000 and 4,000.
Let's see here.
Yeah, page 2 of that document that you have open now
Yeah,
says 3,500 square feet. I think that was his first.
looking to see if we had something, a sketch or something.
Was it page 2, Dave,
Oh,
or?
this is the other document. No, that's the wrong one.
Page 2 of the May 16th.
16.
Yeah, it said it there
There's,
Yeah, it's
under survey results.
right. 3,500 at the top, and then
Yep.
the paragraph there, approximately 4,000 square feet.
So then is your question, Dave, whether or not the 100-foot envelope is accurately reflected?
That's right. It doesn't seem like it could be.
Do we have, excuse me, Bruce, do we have anything on the other plans which
Another message.
identify a larger area? Because I mean, again, based on
Daily.
if it's 25 by 25, if that's what they're showing, then you know we're losing close to 60% of what the outline of the vernal pool would be. And again, that's also important in terms of which way it would be directed. I mean, is it more towards the lots? Is it more towards the road? Is it more towards the northeast?
This is like 600 or 700 square feet. It's 1/6 of the size. It's supposed to be.
Checking some different things here. There we go. What's this one here?
That looks a lot bigger.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the hexagon or the pentagon is embedded in that green. So what's the green around it?
That is, that's what I'm gonna find out right now. Just give me a second. That's the presentation. They may have gone back out. Give me a second here, March 21st.
So yeah, see that looks like it's the right size.
And there's a green handwritten circle, which must be the area, right?
That's the new one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that answers my question. But
Well, which way does it
I don't
answer the
remember
question?
seeing this on any of the documents that we reviewed.
This was part of the presentation, the applicant's presentation
Oh, okay.
documents. So that's what this is from. So I think this green
The green is a new 100-foot envelope.
is I'm assuming that, you know?
That's what Shannon said. Mhm.
Uh,
It's a new 100-foot envelope.
Because that's 150. Yeah, that's 150 feet there. So that's got to be the new 100. That's got to be the 100-foot envelope.
Yeah, because it's not changing much if you look at the northeast side of it,
Yeah.
because the,
Yeah, exactly.
okay. But does that help you, Dave, or?
Yes, that answers my question.
Do they
So
make a
this
note
is
on the
this is the
plan?
true representation.
Mhm.
I just hadn't had a chance to see that. Oh, thanks for finding that, Bruce.
No, I've got a little birdie in the back of my head there, letting me know, reminding me of this one. So yeah, I think that's it. So, and as you can see, it does just skirt the property line.
Yeah. Okay,
All right.
thank you for that.
Thank you for picking that up.
Thanks, Dave. Robert?
Just on the procedural front, Bruce, thanks for raising that there was the request to introduce information after the close of the hearing,
Mhm.
which wouldn't be appropriate. We can seek clarification on items that were raised during the hearing, but to introduce new information would be unusual. And I would agree that Commissioner Canto can fully discuss matters, but when we get down to voting members, and that is where we differentiate, it was appropriate to have the conversation we just did on the vernal pool, because that clearly is a very critical ecosystem that we're going to have to evaluate. In general, I think the balance is right. The trade-off that we get with the cluster subdivision is, we have a more intensely developed area, but lots of open space. So I think that's what we'll have to go, at least I want more time to go back through and look at the final documents more closely, but I'm clearly leaning towards the draft motion to approve that reflects the dialogue we've had to date. End of my comments.
All right, thanks, Robert. Neil?
Yeah, I agree. I went through the motions tonight and I'm leaning towards the approved motion as well. So I just want to make sure we have all the caveats and you know, considerations into that document.
All right, thank you. Mark?
You know, we look at this from a wetlands point of view, and you know, I am concerned about the proximity of that vernal pool. But I would lean to approval of this project. But you know, if I was looking at it from a different commission, I would sit there and just say, boy, the location is just a crazy place. There's a lot of water. I just don't know how this is going to all work for the homeowners, but that is not our issue. Our issue is about wetlands, and I would be leaning forward to approve this.
All right, thanks, Mark. Ned?
Yeah, I think this is way out of character for what the commission looks for. You know, this 25-foot buffer is not cutting it for me. This is you know, a lot of wetland area, a lot of you know, it's I mean, we saw beaver out there. It's prime wildlife area, and I don't think, and you look at the 100-foot upland review area. I mean, we've made requests to developers. Can you move this house a little bit this way, a little this way? We get a lot of the 150 upland review area. I mean, we got the whole cul-de-sac is in the 150-foot upland review area. It's just, it's not what I'm used to seeing, and it's not what I'm used to voting on. And you know, right now I'm leaning against it. I don't think it's appropriate to put that much development, you know, next to such a you know, a water area that I think supports a lot of wildlife, and it just, I think, you know, when I looked at the alternate development he had on we're on that last page, I thought that was a better choice. I mean, he didn't go so far into the inlet. And most of the stuff was frontage on Moria Road, and it didn't go anywhere near as deeply into the wetland area. So I don't know. I think there's other options out here that may be more prudent and protective of the area. And I understand that there's a trade-off, and you know, it is a big area behind the Snowberry area, but I just don't know if it's worth the trade-off. And you know, and that other area, you know, even what he proposed went well into the floodplain, and you know, and also didn't have much of a buffer area between the wetland limits. So I don't know. It just seems to me like we're squeezing a little too much into, you know, an open brook and a lot of wildlife in the area and a lot of wetland in the area. And it just, it concerns me that there's so much development being squeezed in there. So that's the way I'm leaning.
All right, thanks. Bruce, I have a question for you that I'm trying to get straight in my mind, because I'm looking at the letter from DEEP regarding the Natural Diversity Database Determination letter. And they talk about your placement of the development, confining it to 13.5 acres of the 45-acre lot. Is that the lot that is strictly along Maria?
Let me go back
Because
to that one.
then there's the other piece, which is north of actually this development, this part of the development that we're looking at, that was also open space. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand how much open space we're talking about in the entire area.
All right, so we concur with your plan to set aside the 42 acres. That's lot 8517. Let me go back to, which map was that one? Here we go. Show you the maps here. just saw it in here. Give me a second.
You may have had it on that one you just skipped past.
Yeah, did I skip?
What are you looking for?
No, I'm just trying to show them which one. I thought we had a map that actually showed the lot numbers on it. But this is 8517 here.
Oh,
And this is 8518. So what she's
Alright,
talking
so-
about is they're talking about preserving this piece here as well as, and as we said, there's additional open space in here of this property that'll be turned over to the town as well.
Right, so I'm just trying to verify that, you know, and put together the deep letter. So I think they're just talking about the property that fronts on Maria, not that northern piece, correct?
Well, in here, I think we agreed to set aside 42 acres donated to the town of Farmington as open
Right.
space. That's what she's talking about, that piece.
Okay,
And then your placement for development confining it to 13 and a half acres of the other 45 acres.
okay, right. So ultimately, talking about roughly developing about 13 and a half acres out of 87 acres, correct?
Yes.
And the property at 8517, all of that open space is being proposed to be deeded to the town?
That is correct. Sorry, give me a second here. I'm zooming in on.
Or will it be a conservation easement?
No, they're proposing the 8517, which is that corner upper, I'll call it that northern lot.
Yeah.
To be fully donated. Go back to this. I'm just sorry, I was opening up something else while we were talking. Presentation, where's this presentation one? Here we go. So this would be deeded over to the town of Farmington.
Yeah.
All right, as well as the open space in here. And I don't know if it shows clearly on any of these plans. Let me see. Because here's the developments here, and then there was other open space in here as well.
Okay,
So it would be a total of this property as well as an additional, what is that, 13 acres or so? Or no, sorry, I apologize here. Give me. There we go. So the 42 acres on that upper piece, and then another confining the 13 and a half acres to the 45 acres.
So about
So,
32, right?
yeah, exactly.
okay. Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that. So, okay, now that helps. Thank you.
Mhm.
One of the things that I did not see and may not be part of the record is that if this does go forward, I would think that the conditions for development as outlined in the DEEP Natural Diversity Database letter, those should be included on the plans should this go forward. But in general, I guess I'm coming from that and I've thought about this, I'm probably leaning in favor of it. One of the primary issues that I had is the areas around the vernal pool and the impact there. But what's interesting is the vernal pool, the two species that were identified, neither one of them is identified as a threatened or endangered species. So we're dealing with the turtles in particular, which the fencing can be set up to control that. There didn't appear to be any, at least sighting in that area. So I don't know if there may be further north in that watershed area. But again, I think what it boils down for me is that using a cluster subdivision to promote an expansion of open space conservation area, I think that's the trade-off. And I think from that perspective, I'm a little more inclined to go in with 13, 14 acres of development to get something like this in, rather than, you know, if we go back and take a look at that prudent and feasible alternative, that basically disturbed most of that, or at least half of that northern property, I believe. You know, with what they were laying out and said could possibly be. You know, so I mean, that's a good chunk of that land. And you're still going in and impacting the other property, but you're going in with larger lots. We know that there are complications with that subdivision going in the north, or that, you know, if this were the proposal, and I'm just not comfortable going in with that, because to me, that creates more of a conflict with what some of the folks mentioned tonight is things we're trying to preserve. So I think from that perspective, I would probably be leaning towards approving the application, you know, because to me, conserving more of the land is a better thing. I've seen some other situations where the town has not done something like that, and then they've kind of regretted it because the land has gone on to be developed elsewhere. And this is a way to make sure that the land stays in open space. So that's kind of where I'm leaning, but it also doesn't sound like people are ready to render a decision tonight, but it sounds like folks want to maybe think about it a little bit more. But we have some time on this. I think, Bruce, if I'm reading this correctly, we have until the next meeting without any issues, but we could theoretically ask for an extension should we need it. But this, right now, we're okay to get us through to the 15th, which is the next meeting, because we've got until the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
So I guess what I'm going to be asking people is to kind of go back and, you know, think about the position that they have. Okay. And my issue with the natural diversity database stuff, if this is something that's going to go forward, I think that criteria needs to be incorporated in as a condition of approval.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
This is Dave.
Yep.
That all of the NDBD plan is a note on one of these maps. It's page 7 on it, 7 of 13. It's on the same set of plans that we had been looking at previously. The 509 revision.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, see it in the lower left there.
Wildlife management plan.
That's pretty much verbatim what the
Okay.
what the NDDB had recommended.
But then do you still want this added in the motion as a little extra safety measure?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, and I would also, I mean, if we add that, I would reference the NDDB letter dated April 22nd, 2022.
All right. I thought I had that in there, but yep.
I mean, unfortunately, sometimes you can have some really good information on the plans, but if a contractor decides not to read the plans, I just want to make sure that, you know, this gets addressed should we go forward with it. But thanks, Dave. So I would say at this point in time, I'm thinking that it probably they bring this up for a vote at the next meeting. So folks, you know, think about how you feel on it. If you have any other concerns, if you feel like you want to approve, vote to approve or vote to deny, you know, what some of the rationale is the draft is prepared by staff. Is that sufficient? Do we need to add anything? And again, we'll maybe shoot for the next meeting, see what we can do at that point in time. And if we need some additional time, we'll need to get an extension. That sound like a reasonable approach to folks?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I apologize for cutting you off earlier, but then Commissioner Canto, if he has time to review all of the hearing documents and the video, then as long as he presents that next week, then he is eligible. to
Yeah,
vote.
and we would have to have that information identified at that point in time before a vote.
Okay.
So it's on the record.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that takes care of the carrier project.
Okay.
Moving on to planners report, which Bruce has a lot of fun stuff on this one too.
Oh, I love, yep. What I'll do is I will bring something to the top so we can get it off quicker and Shannon could jump in and then jump out. There was an update. We did receive a update on the case for the 402 appeal. So Shannon is on still. Shannon,
Yep, I'm here.
you want to jump in and give them a little bit of the highlight on that, please?
Sure, I'm happy to. Hi, everyone. I just real quick, just on Maria Road too. If anyone has questions similar to what Dave had, as you're going through documentation, you need us to look anything up, you have a question, you can feel free to email us. Don't email the whole group, but you can email us and then we'll get the answers and get it redistributed out so everybody gets the same information. But you know, we're happy to clarify anything. So as you're going through things, if there's questions that pop up, we're happy to help with that. So, and then, yes, as Bruce mentioned, we did, the decision came back from the courts regarding the appeal for 402 that was emailed out to all of you late this afternoon. I've read through it and we've chatted with Bob DiCrescenzo. Basically, the courts dismissed all of the claims in the appeal except one related to feasible and prudent alternative with respect to how, with some wording in the town's regulation. And our regulations are a mix of, I'll say, having the working reg prepared by DEEP, and then a combination of once that working reg was prepared by DEEP and having some word tweaks to it. So it doesn't align exactly with the suggested reg from DEEP, and it seems to have tripped us up a little bit in this instance. At any rate, Attorney DiCrescenzo has reached out. Obviously, Attorney Hollister has this, Attorney Shansky has this, and all parties. Their intent is to develop a strategy for addressing this. It should most likely be before you at the next meeting. What it'll entail is basically reviewing a discussion and a motion with respect to feasible and prudent alternative with respect to, again, how it's detailed in our regulation. It was clear from the statute that it wasn't needed. They understood that the commission had made the determination that it's not a significant impact and that the feasible and prudent alternatives were not needed with respect to the Connecticut general statute. So this is just the one item that needs to be addressed. So we will need to do this. So they remanded that one element back to us. That needs to be addressed and then presented back to the courts. And then I believe the matter would be reviewed by the judge at that point and a final determination made. So that's all I have for an update. There'll be more to come at the June 15th meeting.
A 4-lot subdivision to me doesn't seem prudent in this area. So just saying.
Yes, so we'll be having great fun with that over the next week and a half. So hopefully we'll have that in time for the next agenda review to go out in a week and a half so that you folks have an opportunity to read it. But the decision's out. If you have any questions as you're reviewing it, I'm happy to answer any of those questions.
Shannon, I thought that the way that we had approached this, we were pretty clear as to why
Mhm.
a feasible and prudent alternative was not required.
Correct. And that's upheld with respect to the general statute. There's a nuance in the regulation, and Attorney Hollister and Attorney DiCrescenzo don't necessarily agree with the interpretation that the judge made with respect to that, but it seems it's 1 point out of 6 or 7 that for the appeal. So the idea is to go ahead and address that matter to the satisfaction of the judge, so that we can proceed.
Okay. And that may be some information that's available on the 15th?
Correct. So the intent is that this would be done with everything that is just within the record already. So the intent would be that it would be whether it's probably an old business item, and no need for a public hearing or reopening any hearings.
Okay.
So that's the intent at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Robert.
I just want to say thanks to Shannon and Bruce and Sandy and the other staff. You obviously did a great job in preparing all the documents that led up to the decision that was ultimately appealed. And I can only imagine you spent countless hours preparing and working with counsel to defend the lawsuit. So to get dismissed on everything except one minor regulatory glitch, it's a great reflection back on all of the work by the staff. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I second that.
Thank you. There were many hands in that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
So Bruce, it sounds like it's back to you now.
Back to me. All right. How do I follow that? Huh?
Not with another lawsuit.
I don't have any right now for you. 2 things. One of them is plant 17. George Logan, the wetland scientist, has been out there numerous times. He will be preparing a report with his updating his visits he's done over the last few weeks. So he said he will have something, definitely have something for us next meeting, which would be the June 15th meeting. So whenever he forwards that over to me, I definitely will get that over to you. All right. The other item is Bridgehampton Crossing. If everyone's familiar, this was a large subdivision that was developed or that was approved early 2004, was it? Now I totally forgot. I think I even had it in here. I apologize. I wrote all these. 2006. I apologize. Wetlands was 2006. It was reapproved again in 2020. The developer has been working on this final phase, which is over here. All right, he's got the process in, and he's working, and he's selling these homes at this point. He's looking to close this out hopefully this year as part of the review and all these years that it's been in place. He's had some concerns, and we've kind of met and we kind of agree with him. We have some concerns with regards to the cul-de-sac areas, which is here, here, and this new one over here. If you recall, the reason for this development was, or one of the bases for this approval was, it was a cold water wetland. So the water coming off of the pavement, coming off of roofs, it was important that this water be infiltrated. So it did not, the first inch of water was infiltrated so that the water temperature does not affect the cold water wetland itself. So as part of that, they put these in these cul-de-sacs here. They put these little water quality basins. They're very small. And you'll see in the photos here, this is the infiltrators off the catch basin. Each of the catch basins has an infiltrator to catch the first inch. And then here's the water quality basins. The intention was this is the outsides of the cul-de-sac, and this is the center of the cul-de-sac. Everything was supposed to drain from the cul-de-sac into these areas, drain into here and infiltrate as much as possible, and then overflow into the storm drainage system. However, as you can see, go here. This is what we're left with. So this is one of the, this is one of the cul-de-sacs at the end of Gateshead Way. As you can see, it keeps getting cut off. Now, we had reviewed these for turning radiuses, and they did work for the larger trucks, for like, because ours minimum was like a plow and or a delivery vehicle. So these did work, but people are just cutting it in so close, it's destroying it. This has been fixed a few times by the developer over time. So here's a driveway that was added in here, but as you can see, most of this water is going to come around these areas here. So very little water is going to come into here at all. Here's the Gateshead as well. You can see how it's getting all destroyed by the cars driving through there and around. Here's the one at the bottom of New Castle. Same thing. It's because it's at the bottom of this steep hill. Everyone's coming around, making the corner, and they're all cutting into this area and destroying it. As you can see, there's the catch basin now. So again, here's looking down Newcastle. The water's going to come in. Most of it's going to come around and come around this way. So there is very little drainage area into these areas. Again, Newcastle, you can see the small drainage area. So what they're looking to do, the request that they came to us, and which we're kind of supporting at this point, is to do away with these little green spaces and to just pave this, have it be a cul-de-sac area directly. And I think that it's under our impression and our assumption that the amount of water that goes into there is very minor. And as such, it really does not benefit or does not negatively affect the stormwater system at all. For example, whatever water does go into here comes down and goes through an infiltration basin at the bottom of the slope. So it's not going directly into the stormwater system and down into the wetland. It is still being infiltrated. Same thing with the Gateshead one. Gateshead drains into here, runs down and feeds into this large infiltration bed here. So the water is still being infiltrated. It's just not providing that little bit of water quality in the cul-de-sac, which, however, as you can see, I think it's causing more of a detriment than it is a positive impact. So looking at the commission at this point to kind of make a decision whether if you concur with us and allow them to remove those landscaped areas and to actually just pave those over and make it a full paved cul-de-sac. Any questions?
Yeah. So the purpose of that was to keep the water temperature lower, or?
Well, what it was the Unionville Brook and all that's a cold water wetland. So since the habitat thrives on the cold water, any kind of warm water would negatively affect it. So technically, on a day like this, during the summer, when the rain hits the pavement, you're going to get a drastic temperature change in the water. So the intention of this design, the way this was set was, and I'll show you, it picks up in here. These infiltrators are set in such a way that when the water comes in to the catch basin, all right, it comes up and it goes into these infiltrators first. All right, this is a little out of scale, but as the flow gets larger and larger, it then hits the pipe and then goes down Bridgehampton. So the initial 1 inch is infiltrated into the ground. Technically, that's the warm water trying to get that to infiltrate, and then any overflow stays in the system and follows through and outlets down at the end of the line.
Now, this is what started all the conversation about Unionville Brook and being a pristine cold water trout stream. So even some of the stuff we were talking about with that copper mine development, it's all related. I mean, this is where it first really came into view, where we took notice of the Unionville Brook.
Yeah. I just don't, I don't ever remember seeing anything like this before. That the cold water, but okay.
Well, that's why most of the subdivision requires infiltration,
Yeah,
for, I mean, and it's really the whole subdivision.
Yeah, all the homes are required to capture the first 1 inch of rain in an infiltration system, and the road as well is designed with a system that captures the 1 inch of rain of the infiltration system. So this was kind of, as Chair Hannon said, this is pretty much the first time we really got pushed into the infiltration system and really went down on it, went hard and heavy on that. So.
but it's really not working.
No, and I mean, I think it's working. The only
It is
part that's
working.
not, yeah, the whole system is working. The only part that's not working is these little areas that we're having troubles with that are just becoming, you know, cars are driving over them. And like I said, this road is for more or less developed. It's been developed for
Yeah.
quite some time, but yet the cars and the vehicles are still making the turns. It's not that they can't make it. It's just really easy to come around and make a hard corner without
Yeah.
a curb. Without a curb, it really doesn't stop you from doing it. And as I said, the developer had filled this in a few times. So, I mean, I think here, as an example here, I think that actually hurts the system more than it helps the system with the amount of sediment that we keep having. There's actual fabric on here, and they keep replacing it, but it can become a potential future maintenance problem. So I felt rather than giving them the go ahead to do it, I said I definitely want to review it with the commission to make sure I have your backing before we move forward on that. Hence why I didn't want to bring this up last meeting at 11:30 at night. So.
So Bruce, these basins, like that one you just saw where there was a basin there.
Yep.
What does that connect to?
That connects over to this basin, okay,
Yep.
and then goes down the hill and connects into a bed of infiltrators right here. So what happens is the main storm line comes through into here, all right, comes into this double basin, it's a 2-chamber sediment trap, and then comes down into an infiltration bed here, all right, infiltrates in, and for those who may not be aware, the material on this section of site is a beautiful sand. So infiltration is not a problem. It's very great infiltration rates. Overflow comes out, spills out into this outlet, goes into another little water quality / plunge pool area, and then as that fills up, it comes into the basin and then outlets. So it has multiple steps of both water quality and infiltration. But as you can see, this basin here is really only collecting this immediate area here. And with the steep slope, I really don't, it just doesn't work. I mean, on a flat lot where this is going to be recessed into the ground, it may work, but for example, I mean, there's no way that water's going to stay in there. It's going to come down this hill. Like I said, most of it's going to break that way, and whatever's in the middle here will kind of go through, and it's really not going to get retained in here at all because of that steep slope. So, I mean, like I said, everything else is working well. I think these are just a few elements out there that really just did not work, I think, as originally planned.
And then what would the proposal be in terms of the basins that are there? Is there a basin in every one of these?
Yep. Yeah, those can be turned into a manhole. They just take the top off. They can convert it to a manhole, so we have access to it. I don't think it really needs to be made a manhole. I mean, a catch basin, as they're very, very limited drainage area into them.
Yeah, the way I see that there, it's not picking up much runoff at all. And what little runoff it's picking up is probably, like a lot of that sediment from
Yeah.
the roadways running in there, and we wouldn't want that. So
Exactly.
So let me
Yes, I mean, why can't we just pave up to the catch basin and leave it there?
What do you mean?
Pave up to it.
Pave up to it like,
Like, get rid of all that dirt area and
Yeah.
pave it. Instead of
Exactly.
converting it into a manhole top, why can't we just pave up to it?
well, we need to fill this all in with pavement to allow the full cul-de-sac turning radius. So, I mean, you can pave up to it. It just really is not gonna collect much water at all. I mean, typically your normal catch basins do not have a cul-de-sac in the center. They're designed in such a way where the water breaks in both directions and through. So there's a catch basin there, and there's a catch basin in the throat as well. Right there. So there's the catch basin up here, and then there's the catch basin here. So really, this will be picking up all of this water as it comes around and feeding into there. I think the water, like I said, the water coming through there, there's really it's not really graded as a low point area. So.
and catch basins require maintenance, and manholes usually do not.
Well, the manhole the catch basin's there. You need to keep it there because there is a change in the grade. So the manhole cover would just get put on top. We pave around it. The manhole's there for access. If there's something gets plugged or something, we still have a way to access that pipe.
Right.
Do they still have more paving to do out there? Like another
Yes.
coat?
What they're doing is, let me back up into the plans here, just so everybody knows. Now, this pavement has been in place since probably 2007, most of it, then in 2008. So from here, it's paved from here, here, and then all the way out. So all this is paved. The only part that's not paved is this right now. This is actually processed right now. So they want to they want to do a binder coat on here, and all of this pavement, because it's been in their place for so long, and it's an only 1.5 inch binder, and it's had over 50, 60 homes constructed, and all of the associated construction vehicle traffic, it's starting to explode. If anyone's been out there, it's really starting to fail. So the intention is to mill and remove all pavement in this area, and to put a new binder course, a new finish course, and new curbs, backfill, and the curbs, topsoil, and seed. And then as they finish this, they'll pull out with the last final course through here and drive it all the way out, and then top dress all the streets. And we're hoping that gets done this year. That's the plan.
I mean, the reason I was asking is because of a comment that you made earlier, that if it was a regular catch basin, it may be graded to drain a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that they would be trying to do at this point in time, to direct the runoff in that area to the existing storm drainage system?
Exactly. There really is not a lot of grading needed here. I think when you simply just remove this and you put some process in there, when this all gets milled out, you're really not going to change the grade much, because the road already is designed to pitch around, and a little bit will come through, but there are catch basins further down that'll pick up all the water. So I don't really think it's going to be a drainage concern or an icing concern if we were to fill those in.
And the cul-de-sacs that are here, are they larger than a normal cul-de-sac that doesn't have
No,
type of drainage?
no, I don't. No, I don't. They are typically, or they are the minimum are 80-foot diameter that we usually use. They
Okay.
just, I know when we did this, we had to put the circle in there, and we had them do a turning radii template to make sure the vehicles fit. They did, but like I said, everything looked great on paper, but now that it's in place, it really is not working the way I think it was initially designed.
So, Ned, any more comments?
No.
Mark,
No comment.
Neil,
No, no comment.
Robert,
I concur with the staff, pave it over.
Dave?
Yeah, I guess I do too. It seems like the system has a lot of redundancy, and this is one minor element that doesn't seem to be working.
Thank you. Bobby?
Yeah, pave it over. Coming from a plowing perspective, that's a nightmare.
Put this way, Bob, when it was approved, a lot of the plow guy, a lot of the highway was not happy. They didn't like it. But we told them it was part of the
Gee, I
design.
wonder why.
And we made it work, and that's why we made the plow, we put the template on, it works. But plow guys, they like to drive in and just start pushing off to the side.
Yeah, but at least we didn't stick in some of the speed bumps in addition.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the initial intent on this, because of how large the development was, and trying to make sure that we were not adversely impacting Unionville Brook. It doesn't look like there's really going to be that much here. And it's all still going into the storm drainage system. So it's not as though it's being dumped directly into an area that goes into the Unionville Brook, except through slower means, allowing the water to cool off, infiltrate, things of that nature. So I don't have a problem with it either, to pave it over.
If they were much larger drainage areas, I definitely would be arguing that they need to stay. But I think being out there looking at the drainage area, it's so minimal. I don't think it's going to have any real negative effect at all.
So does that kind of get you where you need to go with this?
I think so. If you guys are good, then we could. I'll let the contractor know. We could make sure that when they mill this, that we address this at that point. And like I said, I'm hoping that'll be done this year. I can't give an exact date, but hopefully it gets done this year.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And
All right.
He's gonna prepare the subgrade so that we don't get settlement issues in there.
Yeah, they'll have to, like I said, they're taking out all that pavement out there now. All that pavement is failed in so many spots. So they're gonna be milling that all out. They'll have to hog this whole area out and drop in, confirm there's a good sub base still in there, but put in the full 9 inches back in, and then binder and top coat. So we'll probably have them go out a little bit further out, just to exaggerate, but out in here just to make sure that all gets properly backfilled.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it for planners report?
You want more?
No, I'm just
No,
asking.
the only other thing I had is just reminding anyone
Figure
that,
out how to mute you from our machines.
wow. I can make you a co-host and you can take care of it. The only other thing was just,
That's quite all right.
There
Just remind-
is a way to do that.
don't show them, Neil.
You can actually kick people out of meetings.
Yeah. The only other, but I'm the host. I don't think you can kick the host out, right? So the only other thing was just a reminder for everyone, if they have not got your municipal inland wetland training, just please do and forward your certificate over to me for file. All right,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
Close it.
So, next item on the agenda is approving the minutes of May 18th, 2022. And I just want to thank Sandy for putting up with us at the last meeting. So it's appreciated what you did on this. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes for May 18th, 2022 Wetlands meeting?
So moved by Robert.
Is there a second?
Dave, second.
I have a motion on the floor. Any comments, corrections, modifications? No. So not hearing anything. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, that's done. And I'm looking at about 9:30 to adjourn. And we'll open the Conservation Commission meeting at 9:30. And I don't think we really have anything other than approving the minutes of the May 18th, 2022 Conservation Commission meeting. Is that correct, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the May 18th, 2022 Conservation Commission meeting minutes?
So moved by Robert.
Is there a second?
Second, Ned.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to approve the Conservation Commission meeting minutes of May 18th, 2022. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? And say 9:32, we will
Hey,
adjourn.